Hello girls and boys, welcome back to Read Me a Story. I'm Pat Kozyra, and remember this is my book. I'm the author. It's called Tips and Tidbits for Parents and Teachers. So it's for your mommy and daddy to read, and they can get it from amazonbooks.com. It'll tell them all about what I've learned in my 50 years in the classroom, and it will help them to help you at home. Another book that Mommy and Daddy can get for you from AmazonBooks.com is this one called The Magic Word, and it's by Cheryl Cannon. And the beautiful illustrations are by the Kelpart team. And this one is lovely. It's been written in rhyming couplets. 2 lines, the last word in each line rhymes. And so it's a fun book to read. And this is about good manners. And my grandchildren have very good manners. My granddaughters, Charlotte and Penelope and Josephine, and my grandsons have good manners too, Max and Theo and Simon. Enjoy this book. This is about a little girl called Elizabeth. Here we go. Elizabeth Keys was really quite rude. She pushed into lines and she gobbled her food. She never said thank you, excuse me, or please. She made fun of people. She'd argue and tease. She took what she wanted whenever she could. Elizabeth's manners were not very good. She wouldn't share storybooks, puzzles, or toys, so no one would play with her, not girls nor boys. When time for her birthday came, Mrs. Keys asked, "Would you like a big party with all of your class? We'll send invitations to all whom you know. We'll have cake and ice cream and go to a show. We'll get lots of presents and we'll have lots of fun. I wonder how many will actually come." They got all the cards in the mail right away. Elizabeth checked the mail day after day. The mailman came daily, but nothing arrived. No phone calls accepting. No one replied. Elizabeth thought as tears started to fall, "No one is coming, no one at all." Mrs. Keys said to her, "Elizabeth dear, your manners have cost all your friendships, I fear. It's time to begin to change how you behave. You must learn to give so much more than you gave. From now on, whatever you ask me to do, you'll have to say please and also thank you. If you want to make friends, you must be polite and treat them the way that you know you would like. I think you'll find out you'll be happier too if you think more of others and less about you." Elizabeth thought. Then she said to her mom, "Tell me whenever you think I am wrong." "What is the magic word?" asked Mrs. Keys. And little Elizabeth had to say, "Please." "What is the magic word?" "Please." She went back to school the very next day. When she got to the schoolyard, she went out to play. She saw all her classmates standing in line for their turn on the monkey bars, where they could climb. Instead of just pushing her way to the front, Elizabeth waited in line for her stunt. "Let me play too," Elizabeth said. Then thoughts of her mother's words went through her head. "What is the magic word?" asked Mrs. Keys. And little Elizabeth quickly said, "Please." The children just stopped and then turned to stare at Elizabeth Keys standing patiently there. Said one, "Could that be Elizabeth Keys? Did you hear what she said? Did she really say please?" Another one said, "Sure, why not? Join the fun." And when she said thank you, the whole class was stunned. All day, Elizabeth really tried hard to say please and thank you, not just in the yard, but inside her classroom and in the lunch line. She said please and thank you time after time. She tried to do just what her mother had said, to give more to others, to be thoughtful instead. She tried to find nice things to say, make amends, in hopes that perhaps they could someday be friends? To compliment others was fun, she found out. She thought, this is what Mum was talking about. Please? She found that to share was a whole lot more fun, that 2 or 3 was so much better than 1. She wanted to show her whole class she had changed, that her manners were good, and her life rearranged. Come to my party, Elizabeth said. Then the thoughts of her mother's words went through her head. What is the magic word? Asked Mrs. Keyes. And little Elizabeth loudly said, please. Elizabeth went home very tired that day. It was hard to please others, to try things their way. But she knew she was happier now, for at last she felt she was finally a part of her class. Her mother just smiled as she opened the door. I've had 20 phone calls. There goes one more. Elizabeth answered the phone as it rang. She listened, then smiled, hung it up, and then sang. That was my teacher, she said. She'd come too. That's all of my class, and with me, 22. She ran to her mother and said with a grin, you were right, and I thank you for cluing me in. I think they now like me, she said with a shrug. I used my good manners. Now give me a hug. What is the magic word? Asked Mrs. Keyes, and little Elizabeth softly said, please. Ha ha! What a lovely story. Elizabeth finally learned good manners. Bye for now, girls and boys. See you next time for Read Me a Story.